Are you a dictator on day one?
No, no. I can't imagine even being called that. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote.
I would say that at this point, the United States is at least on the verge of not being a democracy anymore.
America is back.
But probably is not a democracy anymore.
It's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country.
We're talking about a democracy that sees a significant decline in quality. You could reasonably argue we're already an autocracy given the aggression by the Trump administration, but if not, we're clearly in backsliding territory.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the president.
Trump has attacked and undermined essentially all institutions and norms of democracy head-on, frontal attack.
I'm Michael Miller, professor of political science and international relations.
I'm Staffan Lindberg, professor of political science and director of the V-Dem Institute.
Ze doen al jaren onderzoek naar democratieën, verkiezingen en autocratieën wereldwijd.
Yeah, the last 25 years, the world has been in this increasing wave of autocratization, increasing number of countries that are autocratizing. Almost all of them have been going very slowly about it. And the difference with Trump is that it goes very fast.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Trump has, in his first 100 days, managed to do almost equal amount of damage to democracy in the United States that it took Modi in India 10 years to accomplish, or Erdogan 8 years in Turkey before doing away with democracy, or Orban in Hungary about 8-9 years as well. So it's gone very, very fast.
What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way?
It's far more aggressive, in my opinion, than what you saw in Hungary, India, Turkey, which was a much more steady erosion. This is just very sudden, very aggressive, very all-encompassing.
I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope that they're going to be right.
How you doing? I'm proud he's back. I wish he could run from now on. Oh, he's doing great. How much better could he do?
I'm a rare voice in this county. This country's constitutional democracy is in peril. We all get along just fine.
No, we don't. We hate him.
Well, they don't say it to my face.
No, we do all the time.
Actually, they do say it to my face all the time.
I just said it to your face.
Shut up.
So if we compare Trump 2.0 to the first term in office, Trump tried to do many of the things he's doing now in his first term, but failed. And he failed because there were enough people still in the Republican Party that would oppose him, who would say no, who would stand up to him. He wasn't really well prepared.
It was not a particularly efficient term. There was a lot of both sort of bumbling about what they were trying to do, but also Trump appointing relatively moderate, like, career politicians.
This time, Trump 2.0, number one, they have the Project 2025 blueprint, 900 pages of blueprint for how to go about doing away with democracy. That has been prepared over 4 years. He has also weeded out everyone in the Republican Party leadership and most people in Congress that would oppose to him, that would say no. So the situation is very different this time.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
This time around, they seem to have learned their lesson and started off extreme aggression and speed at trying to sort of erode any kind of constraint and essentially implement by decree their view of society.
There's so many things. It's hard to summarize, but essentially undermining all forms of what we call horizontal accountability. So undermining checks on power within the state, like firing inspector generals, getting rid of top echelons of the military, of Department of Justice, and using the Department of Justice to go after political opponents. But also undermining the power of Congress, undermining the judicial system by refusing to accept their rulings. I could go down the line. It's like a frontal attack on essentially everything, all democratic institutions and norms.
Eerst even, wanneer spreken we van een democratie?
Free and fair elections that are repeated over and over again. And then that parties can compete freely in those elections, or candidates freely, and that we have universal suffrage, more or less. But then the surrounding of the election must also be free and fair. So freedom of media, freedom of expression, freedom of association, civil society, universities, and so on, need to be also free to voice their opinion, channel opinions, and advocate for different segments of the population.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Are you a dictator on day one?
No, no. I can't imagine even being golden. No, I believe in the sanctity of the vote. The Democrats didn't because they cheated like dogs, but I believe in the sanctity, and this was too big to rig. This last election was just too big to rig.
Trump is inmiddels meer dan 100 dagen onderweg. En de onderzoekers die wij spreken zien beide dus een duidelijke trend. De democratie brokkelt af.
I would call it electoral autocracy.
Oftewel, een land dat zich voordoet als democratie met eerlijke verkiezingen en vrijheid van meningsuiting.
But enough of these rights and freedoms are suppressed enough that it no longer qualifies as a democracy.
Iran has elections, Singapore has elections, Russia has elections.
It's important not to mistake multi-party elections and some freedoms for democracy in functioning.
We're ushering out the long reign of special interests and the radical left lunatics, and we're ushering in the golden age of America. That's what we have.
Want ook al is Donald Trump eerlijk gekozen, de macht die hij naar zich toetrekt is volgens experts ongekend.
What people are seeing now, I'd say, come in two broad categories. One is a near complete lack of constraints against the executive. And Congress has been almost a complete bystander in basically everything they've done, even when the Constitution very clearly says the Congress is supposed to do these things, the executive is just supposed to say yes or no. Trump has been ignoring that and trying to pass the budget essentially by decree, tariffs by decree, essentially everything. That's a very worrying sign.
Geen andere president voerde zo snel zoveel beleid uit zonder toestemming van het congres.
Democracy in general and builds on that the power exercised by the president and his government is constrained. Trump doesn't like that. So firing the inspector generals, for example.
Over the weekend, President Trump continued his flurry of executive moves. He fired at least 15 inspectors general. They're the independent government watchdogs meant to root out waste, fraud, and abuse.
So they have a watchdog check function on executive power. And he removed those and put in loyalists instead, so that he can go on and tell his ministries basically to do what he wants, regardless of whether he breaks the law or not. So that undermines the whole functioning of democracy.
We are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip.
The other broad category is essentially the use of state power to try to punish enemies, reward friends, and try to essentially control society.
And telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here.
It's sort of a CEO mindset. He wants to run the country like a CEO where you can basically do whatever you want. And he has, I think he's motivated a lot by revenge. In Trump's first term, there's been a huge spike in the level of threat that people are seeing in Trump's second term. Just to give a sense of it, we asked people, like, what do you think is the likelihood that American democracy actually fully breaks down, actually becomes an autocracy within the next 4 years? And right now, people are giving it about 50-50 shot, which is pretty grim. It's nowhere close to that level in Trump's first term, so people see something special in the threat level in Trump's second term.
Dus kijken we met deze twee onderzoekers naar de ondemocratische stappen die Trump in zijn Amerika heeft gezet. Het begint, volgens de onderzoekers, al voordat Trump voor de tweede keer aan de macht komt.
His campaign was openly authoritarian in so many ways, intimidating the media.
To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
Talking about the terrorist criminals that were convicted for attempting a coup and the Capitol Hill's January 6th Capitol Hill storming attack, and calling them national heroes.
They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day.
They invaded Congress, they beat up policemen, and they threatened to kill the vice president. So it's a complete opposite to democracy. Now, Trump pardoned these on his first day in office.
So this is a big one. We hope they come out tonight, frankly.
Mainstream media, get back.
How does it feel to be back out?
I got nothing to say. All I know is the election was noticed. And front seat.
And then how did it work? They took you out of your cell?
My door at 11 o'clock at night and said, "Pack your shit, man. You're getting out of here." So I was like, all right, don't tell me twice.
It sent a message to members of Congress and judges in the courts and legal firms and everyone else who is thinking of opposing Trump, that, hey, I have these guys behind. I don't know what they're going to do. I can't control them.
Tell Ryan to get back here in the truck.
Fuck you. Get back, bitch.
Is there any issues?
Yeah, you.
They have shown they are willing to use violence, political violence, to further Trump's cause. So it's also a way to intimidate actors that could constrain Trump's power.
En na die eerste dag zet Trump die lijn door.
They're trying to put out a message that no one is safe, that if you form any kind of real opposition to Trump, they're going to figure out a way for the federal government to punish you. And as soon as everyone gets that message and sort of bows down, freedom is essentially gone. You don't have to actually prosecute everyone. As long as everyone recognizes the threat and obeys ahead of time, the job is done.
En die politieke tegenstanders worden niet alleen aangeklaagd, maar de regering Trump dreigt nu ook met ontslagen en bezuinigingen.
We're back with more DoD reforms. This one is General and Flag Officer Reductions. That's the official title. My title is Less Generals, More GIs.
It's purging the military from individuals that you cannot count on being loyal to you.
Here at the Defense Department, we continue to relentlessly pursue the president's agenda. A false gender identity divergent from an individual's sex cannot satisfy the rigorous standards necessary for military service. It was challenged in court, and of course, we appealed. And 2 days ago at the Supreme Court, our policy was upheld.
It's a standard tool for wannabe dictators to purge the military. You need the military to be on your side if it comes to it, right? As a tool of state oppression. It's a long list of things that are just outspokenly authoritarian.
En die lijst gaan we af. Want naast het helpen van politieke medestanders en het uit de weg ruimen van politieke tegenstanders, rammelt Trump ook stevig aan de fundamentele pijlers van de Amerikaanse democratie.
We need to build a movement to fight back. Are you going to help me do that?
He seems to be borrowing a playbook from Orban in Hungary, who expended a lot of effort targeting universities and controlling them.
Opponents in civil society, like all the universities, there are now 60 investigations against universities. Harvard has gotten all their funding cancelled.
Trump dwingt universiteiten om in toenemende mate zijn ideologie over te nemen, omdat ze te links en liberaal zouden zijn. Ze moeten onder meer diversiteitsbeleid afschaffen, studenten screenen op anti-Amerikaanse waarden en demonstrerende studenten harder aanpakken. Wie weigert, wordt gekort.
Which suggests that political disagreements could be used as a basis to pose what might be an existential threat to so many educational institutions.
Universities are a big source of dissent. You got a lot of mostly left-wing professors and students, et cetera, and have the sort of mantle of authority. And so this is often a powerful signal that can oppose what the administration is doing. The other thing, though, is the universities have a special place in American culture as a source of, I think, left-wing liberal power. And so for a very long time been a target of the right as sort of like the sort of grand villain of who has been like transforming culture towards a liberal direction, supposedly brainwashing college students, forming a sort of like core part of the left's cultural power, along with like Hollywood and media. And so it's a natural thing to try to target universities just to try to limit their influence on culture. I think that's vastly overblown, but that's very much in the right's mindset. And so it explains a lot of why Trump has been so aggressive at targeting them.
And it looks like we're not going to be giving them any more grants, right, Linda? And, you know, a grant is at our discretion, and they're really not behaving well, so it's too bad.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Similarly, the administration has been very aggressive towards media. There's a bunch of lawsuits going on. There are threats directed at these companies right now. So that's a very worrying sign for how much media can really persist in opposing the administration if the administration continues to be really aggressive with targeting those companies.
That's what I've experienced, you know, in places like Russia, in places like Turkey these days, right? It's really an authoritarian sense.
So we have to kind of see how a lot of these sort of struggles play out, particularly in the courts.
Maar ook die macht stelt Trump op de proef.
We are delivering mass deportation, and it's happening very fast. Watch this. Watch this.
Trump laat hier deze beelden zien. 258 Venezolaanse mannen, uit de VS gedeporteerd en kaalgeschoren. Geen rechter kwam eraan te pas. Zonder proces belanden ze achter de tralies in El Salvador. Trump zoekt de grenzen van zijn macht als president op.
Tried to use a very old law called the Alien Enemies Act, which I believe is from the 18th century. This has since been shut down as a tactic by the courts, but they are sending signals they're still going to try to use it, challenge, and try to keep using this law. It's essentially a law that allows you to deport whoever you want in reaction to an invasion. And so they're trying to claim that this influx of immigrants, particularly criminal gangs, counted it as an invasion, and therefore you had extraordinary powers just to deport whoever you wanted.
They're racing to the courts to help them, but this is not what the people want. This is not what they voted for in record numbers. I won the election. We won every swing state.
It is very tempting to just say, why be constrained by the law? You feel like you know who the criminals are, you want to handle crime, everyone wants to reduce crime. And so it's very tempting to say, forget the trials, forget the due process, let's just jail everyone who's a threat.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia wordt het gezicht van de uitgezette Venezolanen. Legaal in de VS, geen strafblad, maar toch zonder proces achter de tralies. De regering spreekt achteraf van een fout.
It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang.
Do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the Attorney General that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
In this case, they completely short-circuited due process, deported someone who was here legally at the time to essentially a foreign gulag. They admitted it was a mistake. It was not done legally. It was actually a mistake, and have refused to correct it. To be clear, it's not just this one man, right? It's a posture of how the administration wants to treat an entire class of people. And they've even talked about possibly extending this kind of treatment to actual American citizens. That, of course, if you take seriously, if that actually happens, we're well past the point you're a democracy. He's sort of targeting groups that got in his way in his first term or that have criticized him in some way. You see this with the law firms, with universities, with specific politicians who were against him in his first term. So he's motivated a lot by revenge, and he's motivated by just trying to reform society in very sort of powerful ways, because I think he wants to have a legacy where he is the pivotal point that transformed American politics and society.
We know that popular mobilization would be really important, like lots of people out in the streets demonstrating.
En dat gebeurt de laatste tijd al. May Day, de jaarlijkse protestdag in de VS voor de rechten van arbeiders, werd dit jaar overladen door anti-Trump demonstranten, van kust tot kust.
It takes 4 years, we'll be out here 100 times, whatever it takes. But more people should be out on the streets protesting. You don't understand what's happening, and yeah, the Constitution's being trampled on, and we need to take our rights back.
It's civil society talking about protests or boycotts or strikes or whatever. It's a messy way of conducting politics. And it's often necessary, because that's maybe your only recourse. Really often a last resort when you're talking about constraining a regime.
Maar volgens de onderzoekers is er meer nodig om op te komen voor de democratie.
The universities and other centers of power like the media, but also these law firms, really need to get together in a coalition, a broad coalition, to defend democracy. And the Democratic Party, they need to unify. And finally, and very critical, the judicial system and in the end the Supreme Court must stand up for the republic and for democratic norms and principles. If they don't, then there is no chance to stop this.
If we look forward, say 6 months to a year, and we see that actually the administration really was constrained by the courts, they ended up having to be less aggressive in different areas, pull back, etc., then that's a positive sign for democracy. If, however, we look forward 6 months from now and we see actually none of that mattered, they just ignored these rulings over here and somehow got away with it, and the courts are never really able to catch up or act quickly enough to really constrain them, then that's more of a sign we're in an autocracy.
Trump knows, and his team, they know, they only have until the midterm elections in 2026. Because the midterms can lead to the Democrats taking control again of at least the House and maybe the Senate as well.
So that's going to be the real pivot point. Can Democrats win the legislature back? If they don't, then I think we'll continue to see serious decline. If they do, there's going to be a period of major contention. It's going to be better for democracy.
So they need to move fast to undermine especially the power of Congress enough and make Trump that authoritarian leader enough before the midterms so that the midterms become irrelevant. That's what I fear.